In your announcement this morning, you note that there's various challenges. I just ran through quickly a few of them. Is there any one aspect of what you're dealing with right now that is, particularly acute, that is perhaps the primary basis of the need for an update like this?
Yeah, the real primary reason here is COVID, the Omicron variant in particular. It's spreading like absolute wildfire, and what we're seeing is impacts all over the place, including getting transportation, and including issues that we have to deal with within the company in terms of absent workers. But the thing that's gotten us and really provoked the announcement today is the lack of visibility we have on our customers, because many of our customers were started to report to us really in the last few days of December that they simply don't have work crews to come and produce parts, and that they're backlogged with inventory. And so, what we felt was that these shipments are, just not wanted right now by the buyers. And now we're already several days into the new year, and generally when people shut their doors at the end of the year, you usually get a surge in shipments in the early days, but that has not occurred. So we're entering a position now like we did in March 2020, where simply we just don't have visibility, and it's really tied to people not producing products, and I can get into a little bit more, but I think they themselves are experiencing that problem with their customers. So, for example, a lot of them ship into the auto industry. Well, a lot of auto producers were curtailing production because of lack of chips, and now they're curtailing production because of lack of labor. Just go around coffee shops in your neighborhood, and you'll see a lot of stores are closing early. A lot of people don't have people showing up to work because they're getting sick. So, because of the lack of visibility, we thought we'd get ahead of it. A lot of people are predicting all kinds of rosy things, but we're in the same business as everybody else is in our industry, and we thought we'd get ahead of it, and as usual, be transparent with our shareholders and the market as to what we're seeing.
Right. So more of a plan for the worst, hope for the best kind of a strategy. So it sounds as though there could be a potential here for essentially just a backloading of demand and of shipments. Could that potentially be the case where essentially all of this just gets pushed down the line? Because it doesn't sound like you're talking about a drop off in demand, more a drop off in just sheer capacity.
Well, I mean, I'm not sure about that. If we felt it was simply going to be just a delay in shipments, that would be one thing. But I think here, the difference is that the typical consumer, let's say it's a car buyer or someone, buying something for their home or something like that. In the first wave of this thing back, a couple of years ago, the government stood in and provided money, both in the U.S. and Canada, money to consumers to sit home, not work, and it kept the economy going. And we saw, a really booming economy as a result of that. The difference now is that that's not available anymore. So, I'm a little bit concerned about in demand at the consumer level, in addition to the existing demand in the supply chain that we have right now. So, contrary to, kind of where we were back in March, where we didn't know, and before the government programs were rolled out, and those subsequently were rolled out and worked very well, those government programs are not available anymore. So we simply just don't have good visibility at this point.
So does that make it more difficult or possibly, even impossible to set up an accurate annual forecast at this point?
Yes, it does. That's the message here. We just simply don't have visibility right now. A lot of humankind likes to be optimistic. Oh, this one is not as dangerous and not as bad. Okay, that seems to be the case so far. We don't know what variant's coming next, and certainly we don't know how long it's going to cycle through North American economy, which is the one that we serve. So you're talking about building sites that are shut down, car factories that are closed, all kinds of issues due to lack of people producing it. And I'm concerned also about ultimately demand. So, I've been through this before. I've navigated ships through some very, very tough waters, whether it be the financial crisis, COVID during 2020. We certainly know how to navigate. The company's in better position to navigate through it than it was previously in terms of our balance sheet, cost structure, and everything else. But the biggest concern that's precipitated this is just final demand from the consumer and complete lack of visibility as to how long this is going to last.
So does that make this crisis, since you just brought up, the track record you have of dealing with other so-called black swan events, right, over the last several years? How does this stack up with, say, the financial crisis or even last March? Is the visibility even more restricted now than it was then?
I think it's kind of similar. Um, in the sense that in the financial crisis, nobody had ever been through that before, and we didn't know, what tools the government would use to get out of it. And that recovery, of course, was a lot slower. In March 2020, I mean, our stock traded down to $3.50 a share. People just had no idea what was going to happen, and we were managing for survival at that point. But the government pulled out a lot of great tricks and supported the economy, and everything worked out very, very well. This time, I don't think we're quite as, it's quite as bleak as those two particular crises, but I do think we have lack of visibility in terms of time. And time matters to us because if our customers are not buying products and the end consumer isn't buying products, it means our production has to drop. So, that's the main concern. We also had some production issues. We spent a lot of money fixing up the front end, the hot end, the blast furnace, and everything else in the company, which has been doing really well. And helped us get to the cost structure that we have. But the hot strip mill is something that is slated for investment this year, and due to our prediction of a lack of shipments, we're going to use this quarter to try and correct the problems that we experienced in the hot strip mill as well. But so I would say I don't get nervous about these things because I've been through this before. But I also know how to manage through it, and we do need to manage through it. And the best way to do it is confront reality. Don't convince yourself that things aren't, as bad as they are, because they look pretty bad right now, and manage through it. And that's how we're going to operate the company.